folks, how's it going? I did the OCE player power rankings the other day over on Twitch, and yeah, that was about an hour long. It was a long one, and there were certainly people interested on Reddit and around in the power rankings themselves. So instead of making a long form one, I figured I'd make you a quicker, a shorter video, probably about 15 minutes total. Don't know how long it'll actually go, but I wanted to give everybody a chance to actually see a little bit more about the OCE top 10 as ranked by the top 7 players. If you want to go see the stream, head over to twitch.tv/YUMI_cheeseman. I'm live every Wednesday at 8 PM AEST, and there'll be more streams at odd occasions throughout the week, but every Wednesday. This coming Wednesday will be a chat show featuring a couple of players from OCE talking about the year so far, what's happening coming up, free to play, that sort of stuff. So the power rankings were the top 6 of the top players and myself ranking their top 15. Players couldn't rank players on their own team, so maybe don't take this too seriously. There is some bias amongst the rankings. It is all in a little bit of good fun, and just maybe to put some spotlight on some of the top players in the region at the moment. Here are the rankings: Decka from Cringe Society, Fever from Mindfreak, Julz from Ground Zero, Kamii from Renegades, Scarth from Fury, and Walker from whatever team he's on at the moment. Who knows? Number 10, Fever, and you can already see from the list of previous career achievements, a brand new rising star in OCE, began competing at the end of 2018, sort of beginning of 2019. So you can also see down the bottom left, that's his total earnings for this year, and he's only missing $90 of his total career earnings, with that $90 came from last year. He's been really solid. He's been very consistent, and was a major part of Mindfreak being able to come top 4 in the RLCS Season 9 season, and I think that was even maybe a bit of surprise. Their performance, they ended up coming second in league play, and a large part of that was based off Fever, who was coming in for his first season. Number 9, Amphis, who may be a bit surprised to be down this low given his performance in RLCS Season 9. He was the league play MVP, very deservedly so. One of the more consistent players, but one of the best mechanical players in the region, and his team, Fury, certainly gives him a lot of space to make those plays. You could make a montage from his league play alone. And I really felt like his first poor performance throughout RLCS Season 9 was in the first week of regionals. We do regionals over 2 weeks here. And in week 1, you know, it wasn't so great, but Kenny Salmon and Scarth really stepped up. In week 2, though, he got back to form, and he got them a second place as a team that almost didn't even make it into the top 4. They were 1 game away from not making it into top 4. It was really close there, and you know, I don't think a lot of people believed in them to even get better than 4th or 3rd. So for the fact that they got number 2 was heavily off the fact that Amphis has been so solid across the season. Since then, you know, I think he's been a bit more relaxed. He hasn't had the bigger performances, especially Grand Slam. They didn't even qualify for top 8. So we'll see if he can pull that back, because had he had a good RLO Grand Slam, he would have really shot up his rankings to maybe 5th, 4th, even better. So we'll see what happens in the second half of this year. Again, just like Fever, a very recent competitor. Really goes to show how far you can get in OCE in such a short time if you put in the work. And he's only earned $120 last year and $12,880, 2,500 of that, of course, being the league play MVP. Expressed in number 8, not a surprise to see him in the top 10. He is the longest standing player, I'd say, to have been in the top 10. All the way from that time, he came second in CG Pro, probably earlier considered a top 10 player. At multiple times throughout his career, he would have been considered the best, or at least in contention to be the best player in OCE, at least for small stints. He's just never really held that top player position for an awful long time, because you've got players like Torsos, Drippay, who have been overall more successful, even if their career hasn't spanned quite as long as him, because he was so far back previous to RLCS entering OCE. He had a big major win, of course, with the RLCS Season 9 OCE being the biggest prize pool for an OCE specific tournament that's ever been earned. He also won RLCS Season 6 back in the day, and he has a pretty solid career earnings overall. He's just mostly very consistent, very positional player, rotates around his teammates, and what's been interesting over his career is that he's gone from maybe an aggressive player at one point when he was playing with Shady to being a more defensive player when he was playing a CJ, and now, you know, more defensive but also a lot of demos nowadays. Number 7, a surprise probably for a lot of people out there, would be Drippay in number 7. You know, he has been known to be the best player undoubtedly in OCE, with only contention maybe from his own teammate Torsos back in the day, and he just hasn't had the best, you know, past 12 months so far. He came back from NA. I think he got put himself into a more defensive role, and it's harder to stand out when you are in that role, when you're playing more to support your teammates. So that's probably a large reason why his rating's gone down. He's still very consistent. For me, he hasn't got the, I guess, the fear factor that he used to have, the fact that he could just score from anywhere, that have this insane striking. Part of that is the growth of the other players in the region now shutting him down, getting up to the ball faster, preventing him from having, I guess, free shots on net. And maybe it's even the fact that people don't fear him quite as much that has actually made him not stand out as well, because they're willing to challenge him more rather than giving him the free space that he used really well, just like, say, Chauset in DreamHack Valencia, where everyone was giving him so much respect and it actually went into his favor. For Drippay, obviously he could easily move up this. He could have even been, I'd say, ranked 5th. I'd probably always rank the top 4 above Drippay right now, but he could have been ranked higher. It's just where the 7 of us ended up landing as an average in 7th place. I don't think anyone ranked him worse than 7th either. Moving on to number 6, it's CJCJ. You know, not the best start to the year, and in fact, a large part of the, I guess, the inconsistency of Renegades did go down to CJCJ early on, but in Spring Series Grand Slam, he's had incredible performances, forgetting the fact that the worst series of all time of Renegades versus Ground Zero in the Spring Series, Ground Zero, CJCJ ended up getting an own goal, missing an open net. On the opposite end of the field, Julz was having an absolute shocker too, but even in that same tournament later on, when it came to the grand final and the semi-final, all of a sudden CJ's popping off and either assisting or scoring pretty much every single goal, and it's led him to this 6th place. I think he could easily be number 1, number 3, anything like that on his good day. I think he's mostly popped down here because of a bit of inconsistency throughout the season so far. Number 5, Julz, who is an ex-teammate of CJCJ, now on Ground Zero, so has that 1st place win and may have been even higher, but Spring Series Grand Slam, really awful results for Ground Zero. 5th and 6th in Spring Series means that they only won the one series, the upper bracket first round, before losing to Renegades in the upper bracket, and RLO Grand Slam, where they didn't win a single series. They had that extra advantage of coming in the top 4 seeds, so that's why they got 5th and 6th, but they lost both their series and got knocked out. Really poor result for Julz, but you have to say, when Julz is playing well, he's incredible. In the OCE playoffs, in the regional championships, he played 2 days MVP every single series, back to back to back. And Julz has always had these moments where he's popped off in a single series, or had these really great series where he's just feeling it, he's in the right positions at the right time, he's faster than everyone, he's hitting montage shots. But he did that for 2 days straight. That was a massive sign that Julz could be number 1 at some point. I gave him the MVP for the OCE Regional Championship, and it's only been, again, his consistency that hasn't landed him in a higher position. Number 4, Torsos, the most successful player in OCE history, the one with the highest career earnings, $78,789 USD. I rounded everyone off, but obviously I forgot to do that with Torsos. But only 10,000 of that from this year, third or second place in everything. That would be a good performance, you know, for most people. A lot of people would be incredibly happy with that performance, but for Torsos, every single one of those results is not good enough. That third in OCE, you know, that's the first time he's ever not come top 2 in the regional championship. So that's pretty disastrous for him. Spring series, they won the upper bracket match against Renegades, but then lost in the grand final, even though they had a 1-game advantage. So that's not going to leave them to be happy. I think they're in the lead as well. I think it was 1.32 or 3-1 even in series score before Renegades brought it back. Grand Slam, again, they lost to the Renegades. This time it was a bit more favoured towards the Renegades. Overall, though, Torsos is definitely not going to be happy with this result. You know he's going to be hungry. He's the kind of player that if he's getting these results, he's going to really put in the grind and really put in the effort to become number 1 again. So watch this spot. It's time to give a few shout-outs. These guys were all just outside of the top 10. Thankfully, the top 10, Fever was pretty comfortably rated in that 10th position ahead of these guys. But in alphabetical order, Caveman Ben, Fiber Ghost, Kenny Salmon, Misty, Requiem, and Spy Doge. I guess extra special shout out to Caveman Ben, who was ranked really highly by one individual player on the committee, who really rates Caveman Ben, thought he was a fantastic player, had some really nice words to say about him as well. So watch out for him. He only performed in his first ever top 8 just recently in the spring series. Also got there in the Arlo Grand Slam under Mind Freak, where they came 3rd/4th. In for a relatively new experienced player, massive effort. Number 3, we've got Kamii, probably the king of consistency across the region. He's never had any standout performances to me, but he's never had any really bad performances this year either. And that makes him incredibly difficult to play against, to beat. You know that he's going to get some solid plays, and he's even been integrating a lot more flip resets and a lot more interesting dribbles to get it past the last defender. He's good at faking out the defender if he's got a one-on-one situation, and it does allow him to score some more goals than what you'd expect for somebody who is, like maybe we'd say about Drippay, more of a supportive player on the pitch as well. Renegades, of course, came first every single tournament except for OCE RLCS, where they came 5th. Miserable result. Maybe Kamii would have even been higher had they got the win over in OCE RLCS. Number 2 is Decka, which probably gives you an idea of where number 1 lies at the moment. But, won OCE RLCS alongside Julz and Express. But across league play, he was considered the best individual player, the most informed player certainly. Since moving to Cringe Society, he has shown moments where he is able to be the best player on Cringe Society as well. Just really informed. His striking has been incredible. It's not that he really stands out from the likes of Drippay or Torsos in every field, but just in that fact that he's scoring these goals that probably shouldn't be goals in the first place, where he's getting these shots from a little bit further out, or shots that are from a really tough angle that you're probably expecting is going to be a backboard or easily savable by a defender. He's able to sneak it past those defenders, and that's usually what gives him the edge over his 2 teammates in a spot like this. Been very consistent, and just like we saw from Fever and Amphis earlier on, he is still relatively new to the OCE scene. I mean, you can even see this in his previous career achievements. His first season was RLCS Season 5. He's gotten better and better every single season to now where he's at the point where he is in not just the top 10, but the top 3 players in OCE. Incredible performance by Decka across the year so far. Which means in number 1, a very similar, I guess, story to Decka as well, in terms of separating himself with his incredible striking. He's been very consistent with his shots. He scores goals for Renegades that shouldn't happen, and for a team that is probably more, I guess, consistent and more midfield dominant like Renegades, being able to get a random goal from a player like Siki can just win you a game or win you a series, and Siki's consistently doing that over and over and over again. He's been consistent across tournaments. He's got the MVP for a tournament multiple times, including recently in the Grand Slam. He took the MVP home for that. And for people who don't know, he has been competing in OCE for an incredibly long time, for almost as long as Express has. He's just always fallen short in the past. He found some success really early on before RLCS Season 3 with the Chase Premiers playing under Corvidae. But then and he's missing a lot of RLCS notes here just because I only put them in if he came top 4. He's been in every single RLCS season for OC. He's only recently come into the very top of OC, but he's always been considered, maybe he's the best mechanical player, or maybe he's one of the best, and he just only reached that recently. He's got a lot more to give as well. I think looking at him the second half of the year, he's had this crown for maybe a year now. He was the MVP of Season 8. So he might just be ready to take, an era away as the Siki era if he can continue this for the rest of the year. We'll find out, but that is all of the top 10. Thank you everyone for watching again. If you want to tune into the longer form of these, twitch.tv/YummyCheeseman every Wednesday, 8 PM AEST. I'll leave the link to the full live stream of this below. But otherwise, have a great day.